Alternative podcast. I'm honoured today to have my good friend Alexandra Brewster with us. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, Madonna. Thank you. Thank you.
So we thought that we would
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on here.
You are welcome. So we thought we'd touch on the gut because it's one of those things that gets neglected a lot when it comes to health. So having just retired and enjoying retirement at the moment, you've got decades of experience helping people with the gut and explaining why it's so important and how it impacts on so many things with our health. So where would you like to get going chatting about the gut?
Well, it's really interesting. Let's start at the very beginning. The most important thing of health. If we don't have a healthy gut, we don't have a healthy health. Is that actually good English? We are actually not even what we eat. We are what we absorb. We all know this. We've been talking about that as naturopaths for decades. We are what we absorb. And of course, our absorb is via the gut. Now, when I was years ago in the 1980s, I was a midwife. We were different germs in the ectoderm, the mesoderm and the ectoderm, right? And they talked about how all of these layers, there's only 3 layers, and these 3 layers make all the body systems. You think about that, it's just absolutely remarkable, tissue differentiation. Now, the gut literally has its own, well, not quite, has its own layer and all the other very important things that we share with all the others. And I remember arguing with my pupil, my head of school, why is it? It's only, I suppose nurses learned at their stage in the 80s that it was low. And nobody, I can remember them saying, just a hollow tube.
Yeah.
It literally was just a hollow tube. And I can remember the teacher saying to me, just accept it, nurse Quanti, just accept it. And I said, well, I can't accept it. And now when I've with the study of functional medicine, I've actually it makes so much sense. So let's go back to what the gut is actually. And we're going to talk I always talk in adult terms because it's pretty unethical to I think to practice on children. So they've got a lot of these from not that says much these days, but they've got a lot of these statistics from adults. If I pulled out your gut, for instance, and smoothed out every last wrinkle,
of all the villi,
and from here to here, right, from top to tail, you probably know the answer to this, but what do you reckon is on average an average adult human gut? What's the surface area?
Can you remember? Something like a football field?
2 tennis courts, so between 180 and 300 square meters.
Right.
And of course, the giants like me, the 185 centimeter people are going to have more gut surface than the smaller people like you.
Yeah.
But why is it? That's I always pun intended. That's a shitload.
It is.
Why? Because it turns food into us. Now, let's just think of that for a minute, right? So I recently just had an apple for morning tea. Completely different DNA to Alexandra Brewster. Completely different DNA, right? It's a fruit. It's not an animal. It's got completely different cells. But as we sit here, that DNA is unraveling and becoming me. Now, when you stop for a minute and think about that, it is actually miraculous. And you know what? We don't do it. There's no actually machine on this good God earth that can do it, and we don't do it either. We have help. And the help comes in the form of 10 to the power of 14. Now, I did have a mathematician patient once who told me what that number is, but it was so ridiculous I've forgotten it, of microorganisms that live in our gut.
Yes.
Collectively called our microbiome. We know this is the buzzword right now. Everyone talks about their microbiome and what have you and whatever, So these are the guys that are turning food into us. So let's just park that thought up here for a minute, right? So we've got these 100 trillion, million, trillion, billion, whatever they are,
yes,
microorganisms that live in there. Now, if we go back to, the other thing that's really quite popular these days is to get your genetics tested.
Yeah.
Right. So people talk about getting your genes done for this, this, and this. Combining those two, gut or microbial DNA outnumber human DNA in our body 10 to 1. Now, and if you know about, it's not just about the genes, it's about what turns the genes on and off. That's a whole completely different ballgame right there.
Yeah.
It's not even going on about the food getting turned into whatever, the apple turning into Alex Brewster. Right. So let's just talk about it. So I just thought I'd put the thoughts out there because you can really get down the rabbit hole and it just gets so bogged down. So in an ideal world, we're eating the rainbow, and I'm not talking Skittles, because they've actually discovered that the more diversity of color, the more diversity of species, the more robust your health.
Right.
And
so
as
beautifully coloured fruit, vegetables. Yeah.
Correct. Good quality proteins, because don't forget there's meats and stuff, good free range organic flesh foods if you are not vegetarian. There's a diversity of colour as well. We have to take that into consideration. So in an ideal world, we're eating this rainbow and all those little microorganisms are going, oh, this is so much fun. So, because they apparently different colours, different microorganisms get attracted to different colours, I guess the phytonutrients in them, right? So they're munching it on and they're going, oh, this is very nice. And, they're changing these foods down into smaller and smaller particles. And then from polypeptides to peptides. And then they're pooping out their end product called short chain fatty acids. So short chain fatty acids, we know the three important ones are butyrate, propionate. I have trouble with that one, and acetate. So, and again, even some gastroenterologists are talking about the butyrate now, how soothing it is onto the gut, right? So these guys, the bacteria, what I always fondly say, they're bacteria poo, and this is what we absorb. Right. So going back to those 2 tennis courts worth of gut lining, they're single cell thick, and you think about it like little Lego bricks. They snap together. And in between those little Lego bricks, and they're the villi we were talking about before, Madonna, right? There's little gates called toll-like receptors. And those gaps are actually called tight gap junctions. I often wonder about scientists' capacity to think non-boringly, but tight gap junctions. There you go. That's, I would have thought of something a little bit, a little bit more. What's the word? Exotic than that.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit more exquisite because it's such an exquisite.
The Brewster gaps.
No, I didn't invent them. I don't need them to. We should pretty name them after Christine Horton, to be honest.
Yeah.
So basically, in an ideal world, these short chain fatty acids present at these toll-like receptors, and these toll-like receptors say, okay, we can open the gaps, the tight gap junctions, and let you in. This is really simplified, but just for intents and purposes, this is how our gut works, and it's all the time, 24/7. So, right behind those tight gap junctions,
and those tight gap, they open and close all day, every day.
They're completely dynamic, and they are getting from the messages they get from these short chain fatty acids and other things like lipopolysaccharides, which we'll talk about shortly. So basically, behind these single cells, these little Lego bricks, lay 80% of your immune system, your gut-associated lymphoid tissue, right? Your GALT. So when these short chain fatty acids slip through, the GALT goes, oh, yeah, I recognize all this. Off you go. You can now become Alex Brewster via the liver, because it always goes via the liver. Excuse me. That's the ideal world. Even betterer, even more so, these little microorganisms that live in our gut, and when we do a poop, 50% of that is dead microorganisms. That just goes to show you the bulk of it, right? Yeah. Now everyone can get a little nice and itchy now. So basically, these microorganisms are then happy And of course, they haven't got mouths like you and me, and they can't say, like our pre-recording conversation, how are you, Madonna? I'm pretty good. Look at this beautiful day, right? So how do they communicate? They don't have mouths. Hello, Bob, how are you? Whatever. So they communicate by releasing chemicals. And different microorganisms release different chemicals. And we know this. We're giving them names. GABA, serotonin, dopamine, melatonin. My favorite saying when I was in clinic was, don't piss off your microbiome because you're going to feel like shit. Right. And we're going to talk about how we can piss the microbiome off very soon. So this, and there's this whole new study at present come out a couple of weeks ago about, how the selective serotonin SSRIs don't work. Well, I kind of beg to differ because I think about 30% of people get a lot of benefit from antidepressants.
Yeah, some people do, definitely.
Yeah, so I just don't like to blanket statement any about that because we're just as magnanimous as the pharmaceuticals if we start talking like that. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. Excuse me. Talking too much. So basically, this is what we need to do. And of course, serotonin, and nothing in the body is a one-trick pony. Serotonin itself is our happy hormone or neurotransmitter, which is the same thing. GABA is our anti-anxiety, dopamine's for our rewards, and of course, melatonin gives us a peaceful sleep and detoxes estrogen, amongst other things. So basically, when we've got a happy, non-pissed off microbiome, we are happy, non-pissed off people.
What a concept.
Who would have thought?
Exactly. Happy gut, happy brain.
That's exactly right. Serotonin also increases motility of that small intestine. Right.
Yep.
So basically, when small intestine is a huge part of our gut, everyone thinks of gut as in just colon, but of course we know the gut starts at the mouth and finishes at the anus. So if you don't have enough serotonin, all of a sudden you get a sluggish small intestine and everything ferments and festers, and we get something called small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So then we're on this hamster wheel. Okay, so what I'm just trying to picture here is just how important it is, right? So what sort of things piss off the microbiome? That's a very good question. Let's talk about that. First of all, stress. Stress will shut the gut down because who's got time to digest food when you're going to be a meal yourself? We're talking 50,000 years ago. I made that number up. Don't quote me. All right.
Yeah.
So if you're out there fighting a tiger or running from a tiger, you can't be using all your energy to digest food because you don't want to be eating yourself.
Yeah.
It's fine if it's one tiger. How many tigers do we fight day in, day out? We're talking physical as well as mental tigers here.
Exactly.
Right?
You get a bill you're not expecting. You get a fine. You go into the shop and something costs twice as much as you're expecting.
That's
just
right.
Every little thing. Yeah.
Or you're out and about and you think, oh, bugger it, I'll just buy myself a sandwich. That's a tiger.
Yeah.
Because it's white bread with that's been sprayed with Roundup and everything. We'll talk about that shortly, So it's the physicals as well as the mental tigers.
Yes.
So that's the big one that's, I reckon, is causing a lot of problems. One dose of antibiotics will knock these guys on the head for 3 months. Now, am I suggesting you don't have antibiotics? Absolutely not. It's really handy not to die from a galloping infection. All right. If you need antibiotics, you need to take them. But they are overprescribed. And when you look at a lot of the ill health we know that comes from not quite great gut, well, pretty 80% of chronic disease, it probably started with the introduction of antibiotics in the 40s post-war. The baby's born head down for a reason. Mother Nature got that right, But every subsequent generation, the mother's gut flora is becoming worse and worse. Still more appropriate than, because you're still a little bit genetically appropriate. But, and then, of course, we're talking about antibiotic in the food chain. When I was nursing, there's an antibiotic called vancomycin, which is actually, you still need special dispensations as far as I'm aware. to prescribe it in a human. But 70% of vancomycin is used in the livestock industry.
Wow.
Right. So there is, don't tell me there doesn't try and, sorry.
Through Codex here in Australia, anything we buy, whether it's an animal, a bird or a fish, has to have antibiotics and low-dose vaccines.
Yeah, isn't it? It's just insane.
Like the Codex is not about health. Codex is about, it's a trading partnership worldwide so that companies can stay nice and happy and healthy.
Yes. Excuse my chihuahuas. It's all right. So I'd say the bird just hit the window. Yes, absolutely. So we've had, and when you think about all of this, we've got to take a step back and go, oh my goodness, we've still got gut bugs.
Yes.
Right? I mean, how amazing is that we've even got gut bugs left? And of course, we've got things like other medications like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and stuff that literally punch holes in the gut. So and sugar, of course, feeds all the wrong things. So, even in the gut with those 10 to the power of 14, we've got the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes.
So what happens is in our gut, it's just like a vegetable garden that hasn't been given lots of care. Sometimes you get the growth of the bad guys. And the bad guys are called bad guys because they contain something called LPS, lipopolysaccharides, okay? And they attach on the sides. And I think, if I remember rightly, they actually use LPSs in the labs as a form of inflammation because it's apparently one of the most inflammatory substances we know is these LPSs. So now we've got 2 tennis courts worth of bugs that are sort of the wrong balance. And when they present at the tight gap junctions, all those little Lego bricks then puff up almost, like become like little balloons, and they can't snap together. And the toll-like receptors are trying to and fro, and they go, oh, bugger it. Just bloody open up, let them in. So now then you're getting bigger particles that are actually going through. So in effect, if you want a visual, and this visual, like I know, but your sieve turns into a colander.
Yes.
So now big protein molecules or polypeptides are going through the gut-associated lymphotissues going, pun intended, holy crap, and starts making immune complexes.
Yeah.
Right down there, right? And through a process called molecular mimicry, this is where autoimmune disease starts. So you need the trifecta, autoimmune disease, you need a genetic for it. You can't develop celiac disease if you don't have a gene for celiac.
Yes. And about a third of Aussies do, from what I understand.
Yes. So basically, if it was just about the genes, 30% of Australians would have always had celiac disease.
Yeah.
Now it's just becoming pretty much that. So something's turned that gene on.
Yes.
So there's your trifecta. Yeah. Autoimmune disease is genetics, leaky gut, plus a trigger.
Yeah.
In celiac disease.
And as you hinted before, glyphosate, Roundup,
boom,
one of the ones. Yeah.
It's interesting because, when you travel, you go, oh, I can go to France and eat the baguette. Why can't I? Is it because I'm not stressed or whatever? No, it's because the Europeans are a lot more discerning of what to spray on their crops.
Yeah.
Basically. So you're right. Is it the wheat or is it the Roundup they spray on the wheat?
Yes. And is it the fact that the strains they use? Do you remember the story about the banana babies? So going back to just after World War I, when they genetically modified 2 strains of grains and got a high-yielding protein from, and I think it was a combination of an Italian and a Greek strain. So there was 2.5 times more protein or gluten than there ever was before because there was a shortage of food worldwide. So then they started feeding it to everyone. All these babies started to die. Yeah, and in a few places around the world, they started looking at the babies and they go, okay, well, we know if we feed them nothing but bananas and they make it to 2 years old, that they might actually survive. So they got known as the banana babies. Because when I was on 4BC about 10, 15 years ago, I remember I was telling that story, someone rang up and said, my grandma was a banana baby.
Oh, my
I'm like,
goodness.
oh my gosh. Yeah, amazing.
Isn't that amazing? It is.
But they didn't know what it was. And the guy who did that genetic modification of those 2 strains came out and said he wished he'd never done it because it accidentally killed so many people.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, and that's just one thing. What else have they done to lots of other foods? Let's not even start on vegetable oils.
Yes, exactly.
Or high fructose corn syrup.
Uh-huh.
You
1.6
know,
times sweeter than sugar.
yeah.
Yeah.
And still, Madonna, we're still alive and we're still reasonably functional.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Oh, it completely blows my mind.
And
You
with
know,
that, and with that codex, when they got rid of a whole bunch of them, like going back about 20 years ago in the world, a whole bunch of countries had got together and said, oh, there's these really horrible, and I think it was about 9 things that they knew caused really major health issues. So they got rid of them. When codex was signed all around the world, 7 out of 9 of them came back again. Now they're approved as a trading agreement. We as Australians are not allowed to stop those things coming into Australia if they've got them in them, because it's a trading agreement. Just phenomenal.
Triclosan, I don't know if it's in the codex, but we know, triclosan, the FDA actually banned triclosan in 2016. Triclosan's it's in a lot of our sanitizers and stuff, and it's in total toothpaste and all that. It's an antibacterial. So people like, the ones with 24-hour bacterial protection. We need freaking bacteria in our mouth. They are our friends.
Yes. Actually, I've got a really funny story about bacteria. I had a vegan see me a few years ago, and this isn't anti-vegan. It was just funny. She just happened to be a funny human. So she was on the table, and I'd done some live blood, and we were having a look. And anyway, so we were chatting about SIBO and intestinal bacteria. She said, well, how long do I have to fast so that there's no bacteria in my gut?
Ah, right.
I said, no, honey. If you don't have any bacteria in your gut, you will die. Yeah. I said, you can't do that. And then she started like dry heaving with the idea that there were bacteria in her gut. So anyway, I thought that
well, this is it. In the last 2 or 3 years now with this whole COVID thing, not all bacteria are bad. In fact, I am waiting, and it's not going to be long now. I reckon give it another decade, we are going to see an epidemic of autoimmune disease in these young kids.
Totally agree. Yeah.
To wash they sanitize and
wearing their masks all day, every day, they're losing their natural.
Oh my goodness. And don't worry about what else they shove in. Anyway, we won't go on that.
Yeah.
So the first thing I used to say to my patients, stop waging the war on bugs. I mean, I live on acreage and I have a biocycle. So I can't use antibacterial anything on anyone, on anything, even in my toilet. And guess what? I lived here for 30 years and I ain't dead yet.
Yep.
So we just all have to sanitize and smell and what have you. And we are like a big septic system.
Yeah. People are trained to be germaphobes, and it's really
healthy. Well, it sells the product, doesn't it?
Yes, it sure does.
And the other one is chlorine in water. I mean, I do understand why they put it in. Dirty water still kills, well, used to. I don't know how it has been in the last couple of years with certain medications, but used to kill more people worldwide than any other disease, right? So I get why they put chlorine in the water, but chlorine kills bugs.
So does fluoride.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's beside. Let's not even, absolutely. Well, that does so much more, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, every municipal water supply has chlorine in it. So the first thing you can do to save your gut is buy a water filter that takes chlorine and, yes, fluoride out. Which ones do you recommend in your clinic, Madonna? Do you have?
I actually have a whole house one. I don't recommend that to anyone because of the cost.
Yes.
But yeah, and it's very hard to get ones that take fluoride out.
Can I show you something?
Absolutely.
I'll just hang on a sec.
No.
Talk about being organised. So this one looks like this because I literally take it with me on mini breaks. I'm like you. I have a bigger system. It's called EcoBud Gen 2 Glass.
Beautiful.
Can you see it?
Yep.
It looks like this. It's $100. It's glass.
Yep.
And it's rigid plastic, so it's not as toxic.
Yep.
And it does chloride and fluoride.
Oh, awesome.
And it works so well. You know, I always tell this story, like when we go on mini breaks with friends and stuff, they all laugh at me because I bring this out to do the coffee and stuff. I kid you not, by the end of the weekend, everyone's using it.
Of course they are. It tastes better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I particularly like that one for under $100 when you think you're pretty paying about 60 for a Brita anyway.
Yes.
I mean, and you know, if your budget does tell you that you can't afford the 100, you must only pay the 60 for the Brita, buy the Brita.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, boiling the water will only concentrate the fluoride. My husband's
Didn't know that, but
yes,
it does evaporate some of the chlorine.
It does evaporate the chlorine, but not the fluoride.
Yeah.
My husband, before he retired, was a wastewater engineer, so I learned a lot of interesting snippets from him, including all the little mistakes that some of the municipal water supplies have had over the years, overdosing us on fluoride. If you have tank water, which a lot of us around here in the country do, you still must boil, of course, because of the possum poo and whatever the fallout is from the sky. So I do recommend you still boil the water, at least boil it. So so the other thing, of course, is, as you said, you know, with the codex, there's so much toxicity in our food supply. So I always have I have some rules in my clinic. I used to have. Only eat food that rots. Because if the bugs outside are going to like it, the bugs inside are going to like it. Yep. My apple. If I put that out in the garden, well, probably something would eat it, but it'll rot. If I put out a lolly snake or something, it'll probably still be there. Yes. You know, it might dissolve in rain or whatever, but you know, so that's my first rule. Only eat food that your great times 8 grandmother would have recognized as food. Why? Because if she wouldn't recognize it, sure as eggs, our gut bugs won't.
Yeah.
Okay. So only food that great. And then I've just got fresh is certainly great. Free range is better. Organic is best. You know, the least amount of pesticides, because pesticides kill bugs.
Yes.
And they're toxic. So, but then people get a little bit overwhelmed and go, oh my God. And so I always have a disclaimer that only God is perfect and even he rested on the 7th day. We do what
you've got to do the best you can and what your budget allows.
Correct. You know, so even things like really think about kangaroo, you know, like a great grandmother. Okay, so we're not Indigenous, but our great grandparents would have eaten rabbit or some sort of game way over in Europe. So, you know, and what I love about kangaroo is that they're shot from a helicopter. They don't have to go on those horrible trucks. Even our free-range organic animals go on those horrible trucks, and it breaks my heart when I see that. I'm a meat eater. I eat meat, you know, but it still breaks my heart. So I really push kangaroo and sardines because I think everyone goes about acai berry and coconut and whatever. Well, we're not Peruvian or Polynesian, most of us.
Yeah.
You know, so we probably don't resonate too well with that. But so as far as I'm concerned, because kangaroo or if you want to eat rabbit and sardines are the superfoods.
Yeah.
They're the superfoods. You know, along with
nice and little. They haven't been, you know, gone up the food chain where they're getting more and more and more toxic.
That's correct.
You know, and it's hard to get you good salmon, you know, from wild caught these days. It's almost impossible, nearly all farmed.
Yeah. And then you think, gosh, if we all did that, there wouldn't be any left as well. You know, I just love my sardines, you know. I mush them up with a finely grated onion and some balsamic vinegar on a piece of sourdough toast. Delicious. Organic. Yeah, I know. Might have that for lunch, actually. Bit of green on top. Yes, so buy organic, which you can afford, and always go to the supermarket and have a look at the organic section because oftentimes it's marked down.
Yeah, because it's been there. People aren't buying it. And it's got shorter shelf life. So because it's got shorter shelf life, you're going to get it on special sooner.
Yeah. I always get the little baby capsicums on special in Coles. I just love them. But if you can't afford organic, just soak your fruit and veg in sodium bicarb for 10 minutes. I'm sure you know all this. And then rinse with plain vinegar and water. It doesn't have to be fancy schmancy vinegar, just plain old vinegar and water. Except, I'm reading here because I've been retired for 2 weeks. I've forgotten. No, just joking. Broccoli, strawberries, cauliflower, cabbage, bananas, and Brussels sprouts. You can't wash the pesticide off because they're grown in Australia using systemic pesticide, which means they put it down in the soil. Unfortunately, this book is no longer available. This one here, have you seen this?
No.
This, if you can get that on Fish Pond, can you see that, Madonna? Sorry.
Yeah. No, I've got it.
Okay. So it's by a fellow called Malcolm Maguire. This is Australian, and it tells you pretty much everything that happens in our food chain. This is slightly frightening. I don't know. I mean, I try not to do too much conspiracy thing, but he was writing one on grains, and he literally his website is no longer available. I got this one. Actually, Deborah Ray gave me this book years ago.
Yeah.
So, basically that book was never written. There was an ebook that was available on your iPad. You can't get that anymore. So if you're ever at the Lifeline Book Fest, I buy them up and I give them away because this book is gold. So let's just read broccoli, for instance, because that's one of the I mean, we talk about the dirty dozen and clean 15. Well, unfortunately, that's America. Here we go. Broccoli. Some pesticides used on broccoli are systemic, which means they are taken up by the roots of the plant as it grows. Insects are killed when they suck the sap from the plant containing this poison, but you go right ahead and feed it to your children because that's okay.
Oh, my God.
As the insecticide remains stored inside the whole plant and not just on the skin, peeling, washing, or cooking will not remove it. In fact, it will concentrate it. The insecticide is indiscriminate and will kill bees and other beneficial insects. It is also toxic to many aquatic species. And that's banana. Strawberries are even worse because they use that fungicide, the bromelated, which is banned in Europe.
And some of the GMO seeds actually have antibiotics in them.
Well, you can see that when you buy seeds.
Yeah. So then, as the plant grows, it's all got, that antibiotic.
So this all disrupts our microbiome.
And once again, amazing we're all still alive.
I know.
But what's into our bodies,
I know. It's just, it's remarkable. And we've talked about gluten, of course, and because I always say to my patients, when, particularly if they've got autoimmune disease, in particular Hashimoto's, because that seems to go together with gluten.
Yeah.
I say, for now we have to go gluten-free. Yes, agreed, our great-grannies 8x8 would not have recognized gluten-free, but we have to use it as a form of medicine. But just being aware that just because it says gluten-free doesn't mean it's a health food.
No, it absolutely does not.
So
if it's filled with potato starch and rice starch and
soy and
oh my goodness,
and all sorts of things. Well, Coca-Cola's gluten-free. I rest my point, right? So it's amazing the amount of people go, oh no, it's gluten-free. Oh no, I'm going to go vegan. Well, great granny wouldn't recognize any of that. Let's get back to basics.
Yeah.
And once we've healed your gut, and please, if you have any concerns about anything, talk to somebody who knows. And once your gut is healed, I eat organic rice sourdough. I make it myself.
Yeah.
I do it with caraway seeds like my Oma used to do. And gosh, I make one every couple of days now. I'm retired. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
God, it's in our Bible, isn't it? Give us this our daily bread. Right. Yeah. So we have to what the food industry wants to do is sell food that they can mark up.
Yeah. Simple.
I always say if you have to advertise it, it's probably not that good to eat. Except for that banana ad. I used to love that banana ad. Remember that years ago?
Which one?
Oh, I can't sing, Madonna. Banana, make your body sing. Remember that?
Oh,
Banana, make your body sing. Yeah, so other than that. So that's where I my stance on the gut. And I think I've sort of said everything that pisses off our microbiome, and I've probably said a lot more than I was going to, but does that all make sense?
Absolutely. And I was sort of just thinking about, real food as opposed to processed food. Remember a few years ago, they started talking about ultra processed food. And I thought, ultra processed, what's that mean?
Yeah.
More than 50% of people have the majority of their food as ultra processed.
Yeah.
There's nothing real in there.
And that's what the destructive bacteria love.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is walk around and I was in a supermarket this morning, and I do like to people watch. And yes, I was sitting having a coffee, and it wasn't organic, and they're just so lifeless.
Yeah.
They're walking and I'm thinking, my God, you're 30 years old. At minimum, looking at them.
Yeah.
You don't really understand how to feel vibrant. But it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
You think about the blue zones, how I love bunging on about the blue zones, where the people live to well over 100, and you hear what they eat. They don't eat anything that doesn't rot.
No, and it doesn't matter what their diet is.
Correct.
They're totally different diets around the world, but they're just natural and healthy.
Yeah, and they're eating what their great grannies ate.
And they have a sense of community and a sense of spirit and
a faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the blue zones. I'm obsessed with them. I just think they're just so fantastic. I want to go and live in Sardinia and become a little old Italian mama. Which will never work because I can't speak Italian and I'm definitely not little.
And you have no intention of allowing yourself osteoporosis over the years so you'll be shorter by a foot.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Not going to happen.
Exactly. No, it's definitely not going to happen. So basically the healthiest diets consist of mainly vegetables, fish, nuts, legumes. Now, legumes, in every single blue zone, there's some form of legume.
Yeah.
Right.
For the people who've been doing research over the last few years, and I regularly these days get questions about lectins.
Yes, and that's the thing I was going to comment.
Yeah.
So, and
because I've got some people who are terrified of eating anything with lectins because they're trying so hard to heal their gut, and they know that the lectins destroy the little villi.
So first of all, what you've got to do is make sure you pre-soak them.
Yes.
So I wouldn't buy tin stuff because they just pressure cook the lectins in. So you've got to soak. It's interesting. When my daughter came back, she lived in South America for many years, and she came back and she was preparing something and she had it on the bench. And I said, honey, you've left these, I can't even remember, I think they were chickpeas, far too long. They've got mold in. She said, no, Mama, that's the lectins rising. She used to just rinse it and it takes 2 days.
Yep.
It's the slow food.
Yeah.
Yes, lectins do destroy the microvilli in the gut. We shouldn't be, and a lot of these are sort of fermented. They don't just open a tin. They wash the lectins off. So, and if you have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you can't, absolutely, you decide you're going to eat like the blue zones, you're going to hate whichever practitioner told you, because you're going to have all sorts of horrible pain and gas, and your whole family won't like you. So yes, you have to take a few steps back. It's a bit like the gluten-free, right? You have to heal your gut first. But and then you don't go, okay, I am now going to have, every day I'm going to have a pound of lentils. You have to gradually ease it in and start feeding the bacteria that like those particular ones and different ones. You don't just stick with chickpeas or red lentils or whatever.
Yeah.
So, so basically, absolutely, yeah. And even some of the blue zones don't even have that much fish, but a lot of them do, like in the Europeans, they eat the sardines. Yes. So I think...
those Europeans in Sardinia.
Yes, I know. That's exactly right. And of course, sugar is all sorts of wrong.
Yeah.
Sugar is a preservative. What does a preservative mean? Preservative means it impedes the growth of microorganisms. So it's going to kill the bugs. Our bugs are our friends.
Which is why jam lasts for so long.
Yes, I know. I'm glad I've never really liked that sort of stuff. And did we talk about vegetable oils? We did. The ones that...
only briefly, so go into it a bit more.
So basically, heart disease was pretty much unheard of when people lived on lard and butter.
Weird, huh? Given 35 years of propaganda. Yes.
Ansel Keys did that one. I'm sure he was paid beautifully. Yes. So when you heat any sort of vegetable oil up, they become rancid straight away. They oxidize straight away. right? Even when they're sitting in their plastic containers like a canola oil. You know, canola oil used to be called rapeseed oil. Now, you can go out to parks and see the fields and fields of it, the beautiful yellow fields of rapeseed, as they used to use it in cars.
Yeah,
The
right.
rapeseed oil industry was from cars, the cars industry years ago. And then they developed synthetic oil, which probably makes more sense for synthetic engines. And the Canadian farmers who actually had a lot of the stake of the rapeseed, well, what are we going to say? Well, what are you going to do about it? So they changed the name to Canadian oil, canola.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
they fed it to the population. And since then, we've had higher cancer, diabetes, heart disease, because it's so
Yeah.
caustic. The only vegetable oil I think is, of course, olive oil, and that's a monosaccharide. It's not a polyunsaturated. And because Mark Hyman, my hero, functional medicine, you know, he goes on about flaxseed and how good that is. I think it's important to have a bit of flaxseed oil, but not heated, and never buy it in big quantities, only tiny little bottles, put it straight in the fridge. And all the rest, there's good organic butter, ghee, make your own lard or dripping or whatever, you know, whatever.
And macadamia oil's not too bad.
I think any nut oil is actually okay.
Yeah,
You're
right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any nut oil, because it's
It's
not
the
made from
seeds that
grains.
are the problems. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Peanut
yes, yeah,
oil and
yeah.
canola
Oh,
oil.
I love macadamia oil, but so bloody expensive.
Yes.
But actually, can I just talk about? Can I just be a little bit irreverent?
Go for it.
Coconut oil.
Yep.
Everybody loves coconut oil. I don't. Let's go back. We're not Polynesian.
Yep.
So our great-great-great-greaties wouldn't have recognised it to start with. And with all due respect, the Polynesians aren't one of the blue zones. A lot of them die at 65.
Yes.
So why
Yeah.
are we spruiking it as a health food?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, listen.
And it's nuts. You go into any health food shop or and everything's made with coconut oil.
I know.
Coconut sugar, coconut oil, coconut
Yep.
water.
Yep. Well, the clue with the coconut sugar is in the second word, right?
Yeah.
It's still a sugar.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know? And, you know, and if you want to make yourself some jam drops and have a couple of jam drops a week with a cup of tea on a Sunday, there's nothing wrong with that. You know? But don't do it every day.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
I'm so lucky I never got into the whole coconut craze. When I was a baby, I had coconut flavored antibiotics. So it spent more time coming out than it
yeah, I can
did.
remember those ones. That was for
Yeah.
tonsillitis, wasn't it?
I had pneumonia several times as a
Yeah.
baby. Yeah.
Yeah. I might have because I had TB. Maybe it was that. Anyway,
Yeah, right.
so and you know, these, have I got any rhyme or reason? No, it just doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah. Yep.
Just same as soy. You know, like, who decided soy was going to be good for you?
Yes, exactly. Genetically modified soy.
Yeah, the one that they've raised half the freaking Amazon to grow the cash crop, that one. You know, and when you fly, I don't know, you know, just for a while there, whenever I flew over to Europe, I'd go across Indonesia, and every time you could see more and more coconut oil plantations.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Crazy.
so it's the coconut oil is the soy of the 2000s, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And we know that soy, genetically modified soy, it causes cancer. We've known that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. These things just keep on getting good press.
Yeah.
You know,
because they sell the food,
yeah.
don't they? Yeah.
They create the studies to prove their worth.
When I did my master's, that's what I did it on.
Yeah, right.
On one of the things in thyroid, I had a course master, so I had a few, you know, subjects, and I can remember finding a study that showed that you don't need a parachute to jump out of the plane. It will not increase your life expectancy. You can prove anything with a study.
Yeah.
We're not randomized, double-blind controlled. We're amazingly synergistic beings.
Yeah.
You can't. And this is the problem with our industry, hey, Madonna, with our herbs and stuff. And they go, oh, this particular active ingredient in wild cherry bark, if we isolate it and purify it and whatever, and in the gut, it'll turn
creating
into
another drug.
Yeah. You know, and then they go, oh my God, that's dangerous. Let's ban the whole lot.
Yeah. Yes.
which is, another one of the reasons I retired. I sort of was kind of a bit over that sort of stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, it's all a bit annoying. Yes.
It is a bit annoying, but, people like you who put out the good word and keep up the good fight.
Oh, God.
Just wonderful.
Yes.
Just
Just keep
wonderful.
it up. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So on that note, I think I've done enough raving.
Cool. Well, with your so what are your from the nutrients then to help to heal the gut? So from the perspective of changing the diet, absolutely, looking at the water purifier, that sort of thing. What were your favorite nutrients that you did like to use to heal the gut? Or would you go more into things like bone broths and things like that?
No, because the problem with also bone broths, a lot of times in itself that would cause enough problems because of the glutamate, right?
And the histamines.
Yeah, and the histamine. So so I did some, I used different products from depending on the patient scenario, like without mentioning products or companies, I had several favorites from, different powders and what have you. But, using carnosines and even your live probiotics. Your spore probiotics, your guar gums, all that sort of stuff. Your guar gums so nice and gentle, and it can get started slowly if you can powder dose it and start slowly. Changing the food, definitely removing gluten. Definitely. Just very basic nutrients, a bit of magnesium if you've got not enough serotonin in your gut and you've got chronic constipation. There's nothing like debulking it and getting it going.
Yeah.
I'm sure you see these people who poo once a week.
Had one this morning. The worst it's been is every 10 days she actually took her photo of herself side on. She's never had a bubby, but she was standing there like she was 7 months pregnant in this side on photo. Skinny little thing she is. And her entire life, which does make you wonder about, just what things that all the interventions at birth do to our poor old, and in the womb. I mean, it's not so much when she would have been born because she's in her 50s, but these days especially, like 1 in 3 babies is cesarean.
Oh, no.
And all the vaccines on day 1, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. And as we know, there's no long-term placebo trials to show whether any of those things are actually beneficial long-term.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's supposed to be unethical to practice on children and babies, and we seem to do it so beautifully.
Yes.
And everyone, it's that whole fear-based thing again, isn't it?
It is. And it's sort of funny. Last year I had 2 of my little nieces at the same time pregnant, and on Facebook at the same time, one of them was like, "We're doing everything we can to take care of our babies. Don't come near us unless you've had all your shots." And the other one, "We're doing our best to look after our baby. Don't come near me if you've had the shots." So
right.
It was sort of happening simultaneously. It was really interesting to watch, and both of them coming from a place where they love their bubbies. They're trying to do their best.
Absolutely.
They're listening to the information that they have at that time.
Absolutely.
And making decisions, and there's just so much interesting information out there.
It is going to be interesting what this next few generations, like, when I first started nursing autism, I didn't even learn about it. And that was only 1982.
Yeah.
And now it's 1 in 36, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're expecting it to be 1 in 3 by 2030. In the States, that's what they're projecting.
And the gene hasn't
just
changed.
Phenomenal. What is going to happen to our society when you've got one person? Like, who's going to look after all these kids? Are we going to go back to institutions and stuff like that? Like, it's a phenomenal time watching what's going on the planet.
It's really interesting because you look at the autistic people of the 60s. They were all sitting in mission control when man flew to the moon, or whatever you believe, right? You could see they were all autistic, but they were focused because their brain was actually on fire working. Now their brains are on fire, inflamed, because the genes haven't changed. They're just turned on differently.
Yeah.
Just being autistic, we know they're incredibly intelligent people.
Yes,
they're the scientists. They're the inventors of the world. They're the geniuses, and they're basically stimming them. It's just
and
it's and we know there's a brain gut connection.
Yeah, and even just talking about the diet, one of the guys we had talk at Congress maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago who was talking about the lectins and talking
Oh,
about
yes.
the lectins build up in the dairy when we
Yes.
have cows that eat the grains.
Yes.
So from the grains, the lectins build up in the dairy, and it also builds up in the meat from the grain-fed animals as well. So
Yes.
he recommended people basically go grain-free, dairy-free, but then
Yes.
grass-fed animals and game, and then these kids would start to be verbal again.
Yeah, grass-fed liver.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, we just, and everyone's just eating. And that's the other thing. That we're all very fussy with the meat we eat.
Yes.
You know, we all want the fillet steak and that's it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the old days, we ate nose to tail. So yeah, so it's interesting what's going on. It is actually interesting.
Yes.
But yeah, so nutrient wise, a nice gut repair formula without giving too many trade names away.
Yeah.
Definitely magnesium. Although a lot of people do have chronic diarrhea, and that's when I start with the different probiotics.
Oh, the ESB.
Well, not even. I like the lactobacillus rhamnosus strain 299V.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really because that's for gut inflammation.
Yeah.
You know, so unless it's so chronic that, well, I'll probably use both, to be honest. And then I always start off microdosing guar gum.
Yes. Nice.
And there is a certain wonderful company that is Brisbane based that now has a guar gum powder with the spores in it. Do you know it? We'll talk off air.
Okay.
Not that company.
No. I've got a jar somewhere of guar gum. It's a product I've just bought in recently that I haven't played with yet. Yeah.
So there is because there's also, we know that probiotics are transient in the gut, but I used to import one called Megaspore from a company, but of course customers likes to stop it all the time, and it was always such a stimmy. But now one of the companies has made it a guar gum and a spore powder together, and then that goes, they're like the little seeds. Then they go where they're needed.
Yeah,
which
beautiful.
is amazing. So I did used to do a lot of work with probiotics, different ones. They come in, okay, we've done this one. Now we're going to use this one. We're going to see, okay, so this has changed. What have you? We'll do it this way.
Actually, I might just quickly ask you about the whole microbiome, because different organs of the body have got their own microbiome as well.
Yes.
So it's not the same microbiome all around the body.
Correct.
And I was listening to a Dr. Bean last week who was talking about myocarditis and saying that one of the things that seems to be happening with something going on the planet is that spike proteins are destroying the innate immunity of the heart. And that was the first time. And I went, oh, so it's a study. It was published in Circulation last week, the week before, 25th of July.
Wow.
So the American Heart Association publication. And so they were talking, and I went, I didn't know the heart had its own innate immune system. Oh my gosh. So it's been a great couple of years for learning all sorts of things, sort of retraining my brain to be open to any new information.
But it's all about the microbiome, Madonna. Hey, endometriosis is dysbiosis. Like when I was a midwife, we were told that the lichor that surrounds the baby was sterile. Well, it's not. Yeah. And we know about that fetal chiromicronism. I can't say that word. Where they have the different cells and their own microbiome, and they interact with the DNA. And they're now discovered that if your pelvic cavity doesn't have, that isn't sterile, and if that's not right, that's because most people apparently leak endometrial, or not only if you're a woman, do have a little bit of spillage of endometrial tissue through the fallopian tubes.
Right.
That's quite common, apparently. It's only when you have a dysbiotic pelvis that it causes inflammation. Boom.
Huh. Interesting.
Same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what are we doing? We're doing our best to just, you pretty get the same thing. People laugh and go, oh, yeah, you believe in your immune system. I go, actually, I do.
Yeah, what a concept. Yeah. Remember you used to know that about breastfeeding. That was the best way to protect our baby was through breastfeeding.
Yes. And the breast has its own microbiome.
It sure does.
Right.
And there's more cannabinoid receptors in the breast tissue than there is anywhere else in the body. So it's the number one way that people get cannabinoids direct from source.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we actually feed our babies cannabinoids when we are breastfeeding them.
That is so good. That is so fantastic. I know, what a
Meant to be in our
surprise.
diet. It's meant to be, so you wonder what was going on 10,000 years ago.
Yeah,
It
right.
was probably just part of their daily leafy habit.
Yes.
Because otherwise, why would we have so many cannabinoid receptors in the body?
Yes.
And why would there be so many in our breast tissue?
Yes. Oh, well, look, it's I guess the thing is, Madonna, we probably won't ever really know.
No.
It'll be frustrating, isn't it?
Yes. This would be nice to be able to be psychic and go back and or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever that thing is they do.
That's it. That's
Some
it.
time travel. So anything you'd like to close up with? Any last bits of advice for people?
Try and eat as simply as you can. Think of the rules. Think about before you put it in your mouth. Did great granny times 8 even recognize this? And if the answer's like, oh, well, I'm pretty sure the bread didn't look like that when she was, maybe don't put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Most of the time, not anyway. And in particular for the children, when, it takes 8 years or so, isn't it, to establish your microbiome?
Yeah.
So they shouldn't be eating anything but whole foods for at least 8 years. And you look at all the crap that's marketed. Pick up one of the yogurts that's marketed for children.
Oh, it's shocking. Yeah, totally.
Did you see that study that not a study, they've actually found in Skittles there's cancer-causing substances.
No. And that study about 10, 15 years ago that showed over 200 carcinogenic substances in breast milk, just because there's so much in our atmosphere, in our environment, in our food. So when because my son turns 36 this month, and when I was pregnant with him, they used to tell us that the baby was it had its own little environment. It was totally separate from everything we ate.
Correct.
And these days you go, really?
I was probably one of those midwives who told you.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's
and we believed it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I know, right?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Absolutely, totally. So, it does not have to be complicated, I guess is my take home.
Yeah.
If you
can be delicious. I think people always think that means boring and not delicious, but
absolutely.
You can eat very deliciously.
Oh my God, I eat amazingly.
Yeah.
I eat amazingly, and I'm sure you do too. I have
I have no problem. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No. And and it doesn't even have to be that super expensive. Kangaroo's $20 a kilo.
Yeah.
And we give it to our bloody dogs. Sardines is $3 a tin.
Yeah.
Like you don't anyways, it does not have to be simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Keep it simple. Before you put it in your mouth, before you put it in your children's mouth, A, if they've advertised it, it's probably not good for you. And B, if great-great-granny times 8 didn't recognize it, sure as eggs, I wouldn't. Most of the time, I don't put it in my mouth.
And you sort of even imagine the moment giving thanks for a meal before, not going religious, but imagine what that does for your nervous system. You're calming down, you're sitting with your family, you're taking a moment to say thanks for something, and that would have to reduce people's stress.
Parasympathetic nervous.
Yeah, by reducing people's stress before eating, they're going to get more out of their food.
Well, parasympathetic will go, instead of going flight and fright sympathetic, you're resting and digesting.
Yes.
And that is part of those blue zones. They all give thanks.
Yeah.
So that's regardless of who you give thanks to, we should be giving thanks. That's a very valid point.
And it's asking the body to get the best out of the meal.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Cool. All right.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Alexandra. You're a champion.
You're welcome. I can rev it on, that's for sure.
No, that's great. And when do you get your other eye done, can I ask?
Thursday week.
Awesome. That's
so come Congress, girlfriend. I'll just be
that'll be great.
Yeah, you're going, yeah?
Oh, but I haven't decided yet. Having lunch with Hannah in a minute.
Oh, are you? Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
she's lovely. You've met her before?
No, I haven't.
I just said to her, God, just as I get a decent one. I shouldn't have said that. I mean, I didn't mind Elena too much, but she's really lovely.
Okay.
You're going to love her. Yeah. Now go. Because I'm going. This will be my last hooray.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well,
Good
thanks
on you.
so much. Thanks
You're welcome
everyone for joining us today. Talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.